how it ended in the blink of an eye. Help me welcome Bob.
My favorite fight of all time took place in 2004. It was Juan Manuel Marquez defending his title, his featherweight title, against Manny Pacquiao. And in the first round, it looked like it was going to be a blowout. Marquez was knocked down 3 times in the first round. The fight could have been stopped then and there. No one would have complained if the fight had been stopped in the first round. Marquez clearly could not defend himself from Pacquiao's superior speed, and his left hand kept tagging Marquez. But I think I speak for all boxing fans when I say, thank God, the fight did not get stopped there. After the first round, Marquez walked to his corner, sat down on the stool, and his trainer, he gave him one piece of advice. He says, in Spanish, he says, aniquila la izquierda, which means annihilate that left hand. Not avoid it, not counter it, annihilate it. And for the next 11 rounds, Marquez almost avoided that left hand completely with this beautiful footwork, counter punching, and combination punching. Not only had Marquez survived that first round, but he fought well enough for the next 11 rounds to earn himself a draw. And after that fight, Marquez made it his career goal to beat Pacquiao. His perpetual Moby Dick, if you will. And after the first fight, it took 4 years for Marquez to fight Pacquiao again, to meet him again in 2008. Now, this was another great fight where Marquez went down once again. But once again, Marquez adjusted using his footwork, combination punches, and counters. But this time, he lost. He lost in the eyes of the judges. But not in his own eyes. And not in the eyes of the fans. The fans demanded a third fight. There wasn't a third fight till 3 years later, in 2011. Now, a lot had changed between 2008 and 2011. Pacquiao had defeated Oscar De La Hoya, a sad day in the Reyes household. Ricky Hatton and Miguel Cotto to become boxing's biggest superstar at that point. Not only was Pacquiao supposed to beat Marquez, he was supposed to destroy him. It was supposed to be one of his easiest fights of his life. But these two fighters' styles, they meshed so well. Pacquiao's speed and athleticism against Marquez's counterpunching and fundamentals meant that these two men could fight in any year, at any weight, and they would have a great fight. Now, the third fight was another great fight. There were no knockdowns this time, but once again, Marquez lost at the hands of the judges. Now, it was 0, 2, and 1 for Marquez, and it was clear that he could not win a decision against Pacquiao. Fast forward just 1 year later this time, the fourth fight. This fight was dubbed once and for all. Because it was their fourth fight, and because frankly, if Marquez couldn't beat Pacquiao in his fourth attempt, he was never going to beat him. Now, I wasn't even going to watch this fight, because I was so upset that Marquez had been robbed twice before against Pacquiao, and I knew that he couldn't win the decision. And I really didn't think that he could knock him out, because he hadn't even dropped him in the previous 3 fights. How was he supposed to knock him out? But I ended up watching this fight at a friend's house, and I'm so glad I did. Because come the first bell, ding ding, it rang, and both of these guys came out, guns blazing. They both wanted that knockout. They both had something to prove. Pacquiao wanted to prove that his 2 wins over Pacquiao, his 2 wins over Marquez weren't just because of the judges. And Marquez wanted to prove that he could beat Pacquiao. So both of these guys wanted a knockout. And in the 3rd round, Marquez knocked down Pacquiao for the first time in 4 fights. So Marquez, he feinted a right hook to Pacquiao's body, and this forced Pacquiao to bring his hands down, exposing his head. And that's when Marquez brought that same punch up, a misdirect. Bam! landed right on Pacquiao's chin, and Pacquiao fell flat on his back. For the first time in 4 fights, it seemed that Marquez could win. Maybe Marquez could knock out Pacquiao and end this rivalry once and for all. But a couple rounds later, Marquez was the one that was getting beat up. He got knocked down again, 5th time in 4 fights. And he was bleeding profusely from his nose. We later found out that he had a broken nose. And this fight, he was getting beat up so bad that everyone thought that the doctor was going to stop it or the referee was going to stop it. And then lightning struck. With 1 second left in the 6th round, with his back against the ropes, Marquez landed a right hand. Pacquiao coming in, boom. Pacquiao fell flat on his face, and he didn't even get back up. After all those bad decisions, after all those years of chasing Pacquiao, after all those knockdowns, after all those broken noses, after all those straight lefts he ate for years, he finally had his moment. It took him 4 fights to find that moment. Lightning in a bottle, if you will. That punch was lightning in a bottle. But it wasn't lightning in a bottle. It was years of studying Pacquiao's movements, Pacquiao's habits. It was 125 minutes and 59 seconds of being in the ring with him. 8.5 years after their first fight. 19 plus years since becoming a professional fighter. Then, and only then, was he able to strike. Now I turn this back over to us. What are we chasing? What's our Moby Dick? What's our Pacquiao? And do we have the patience to wait until the time is right to strike? It took Marquez 4 fights in order to find that perfect opening, to finally land that perfect punch against Pacquiao. It might take years into our mission to find that perfect moment. Will you be ready to strike?